So we are going to start this presentation just having a quick look at the rationale behind the existence of the Helpdesk, so the importance of IP. Then we will continue with a quick explanation on our services and also who we are targeting, our main users. So we will also focus in the traditional services, but also two sort of innovative ones we are going to provide in this new phase. We are also going to detail a bit specificities of our region, because we cover 3 different regions, and also we will conclude with our dissemination and networking activity and how we can collaborate and partner.
So intellectual property refers to creations of the mind. It's literally inventions, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, and images that are used in commerce. You have to remember that it's not a unitary concept. Every field of IP has its own set of rules. And what you must know is that the major distinction is between industrial property and copyright. So industrial property includes patents for inventions, trademarks, industrial design, and geographical indications. And the copyright, it's everything linked to literary works, films, music, artistic works, software, and also data banks.
So what can the Helpdesk do for you? So why are we actually there? What is our raison d'être, really? So I think that the main purpose is that a couple of years ago, for the China Helpdesk since 2008, the Commission saw that a lot of SMEs, small and medium enterprises, lacked information on intellectual property. It was often the last thing they looked at when they sort of developed their business. Intellectual property was often seen as something which is very legally heavy in terminology, very complicated, very costly. And the Commission sort of jumped in that gap and decided to offer free services, free initial services for SMEs to help them sort of make informed and strategic decisions on intellectual property. To first of all see how intellectual property applies to their specific business, to their specific product. And they sort of picked 3 core markets where there's still persistent issues with regards to intellectual property rights, which is Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia. So the free initial services that we provide are to really maximize and optimize the competitiveness of companies, to really try and understand how does intellectual property apply, how can I monetize it, and how is it applicable also to third markets if I internationalize my business beyond the European market. And even for those companies that stay within Europe, it is still very important to sort of be aware that third markets, China, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, might also have an impact if you're just staying with your business in Europe. What we also do is we provide initial contacts with local law enforcement agencies. For example, where do I go if I want to register my trademark in Taiwan? What sort of organization should I go to? If I want to register my patents in Singapore, where can I go and who should I contact? So we provide these initial go-to platforms as well. And as I mentioned before, the real main purpose is to overcome existing barriers. Obviously, there's a lot of countries that are sort of in the process of developing. Take a country like Myanmar, which is just opening up to European investors as well. And also the legal landscape is continuously changing, with new laws being drafted, new legislative changes coming through. And this is something that is in play basically for all the 3 regions, Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia. So we try to keep SMEs updated on these legislative changes. What does it change for them? And how can they sort of stay abreast of what's happening in these markets? And then this obviously plays for not only enforcement of intellectual property issues, but mainly also prevention. So what do you do in order, before you actually enter these markets? What are sort of the steps that you have to undertake to protect your product and to make sure that you have a successful business venture when accessing these markets?
So, who are the users of the services of the help desk? Well, first of all, primarily SMEs and startups from the EU and from the non-EU countries that are participating to the COSME program. The type of engagement, distribution, exporting, sourcing, we divide the companies according to the type of IP awareness. So the companies that have no IP awareness or little IP awareness, or companies that are already protected, and companies that are actually involved in litigation. And then the second type of users are multipliers, and there's three types of multipliers. There's the publicly funded multipliers, like national IP offices, like European Commission initiative, trade agencies. We also work closely with privately funded multipliers, like chambers of commerce in the member states, professional associations, business incubators, angel networks. And finally, we work also with mixed multipliers, which are science parks, certain type of clusters, and technology hubs.
So what do we actually offer? I mentioned before that the main purpose is really to have SMEs make informed and strategic decisions about their intellectual property. Well, there's a variety of ways in which we try to give SMEs this free information. One of the core ones is an inquiry helpline. This basically takes shape in like an actual phone number that companies can call, but also email. An email address where companies can basically send any question that they might have regarding intellectual property for these three regions. And our IP experts will then respond within 3 working days with an answer to these questions. And SMEs are obviously also free to ask follow-up questions after the initial services that are provided. And please do not hesitate. Any question is a good question, no matter how complicated, how basic. We will be there to support you. And next one is webinars and e-learning modules. All of us, we organize regular webinars, a couple per month, on a wide variety of topics, covering trademarks, patents, but also industry-specific webinars, where we sort of delve into a specific industry, often in partnership with one of our partners or an intermediary, to reach also as wide a number of SMEs as possible. E-learning modules, a good example is, for example, the Southeast Asia Helpdesk is currently developing an e-learning module on attending trade fairs in Southeast Asia. And there's already a wide and vast database of existing e-learning modules available on our website. That brings me to the next one, a website, a blog, and newsletters. We have sort of a central landing port for all the 3 help desks. Which is the IPR hub, where people can access the web platform, which is really a huge repository of interesting information, guides, webinars, infographics, blog posts, where companies can basically look and find any information on their industry or country-specific information that they need. If you're going to Mexico, you'll find a guide on Mexico. If you want to go and venture into the semiconductor business in Taiwan, there will be a guide for you and a country-specific guide where you will find intellectual property information for this specific country. Training workshops. This is maybe also one of the core components of our services that we offer. We provide trainings, physical trainings. We travel throughout Europe, throughout Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia, where we work with partners and deliver actually physical trainings to companies, usually lasting between half an hour and 60 minutes. We have a vast network of IP experts that we work with. And yeah, the main purpose is really to provide like a 30, 60-minute presentation regarding intellectual property, again, on any given industry and on any specific geographical region. We see these trainings are incredibly successful because it allows companies also to get in touch with the IP expert afterwards. So to sort of have a one-on-one consultation. IP is obviously a rather sensitive topic at times, and these one-on-one consultations really allow companies to have a direct contact with trainers and to ask specific questions on their company. So this is immediately also a shout out to all people in the audience who are intermediaries or who are representing a wide number of SMEs, feel free to contact us. We'd be very happy to support you if you have a group of SMEs that maybe goes on a trade mission to Brazil or to Vietnam. We'd be very happy to support. Last but not least, guides and fact sheets I mentioned before, they're all available on our website. And please also don't hesitate to drop by our desks outside. We've got some physical copies and some USBs with digital versions of all of these guides and fact sheets. So this is basically, in a nutshell, what we offer. And then we also have a few new innovative tools, which is the next slide. So currently we're in the process of developing what we call sort of a diagnostic toolkit, which is basically going to be available on our online platform as well. A few simple questions which should give you sort of an idea of what sort of IP services you need and what sort of how IP applies to your specific business. So it will be a short questionnaire that SMEs can fill in. And as a result, they will sort of get an overview of what IP services they need and how intellectual property is applicable to their business. Then we're also developing a cost tool. Obviously, we're covering 3 markets, and I can imagine for SMEs that internationalize and want to access multiple markets, it's sometimes a bit difficult to get a grasp on the different types of IP that apply, but also different procedures and costs, for example. It might be more expensive to register your patent in Argentina, and maybe it takes more time as well, whereas in Taiwan it's maybe cheaper and the procedure is a bit faster. So this cost tool is developed really to give a quick overview on sort of cost procedures, the length of the procedure, and sort of an initial contact point as well in order to register the different types of IP for the markets of interest for these SMEs with an interest. As I mentioned, we'll keep our guides updated based on legislative changes that will be coming through. We have guides with tear-out supplements. These are actually physical forms that can be ripped out, immediately filled in. Very useful. And we're also obviously providing recent IP news, so IP updates. In China recently there was the 2 sessions with some legislative and IP changes coming through, the merging of certain IP offices which will have an impact on SMEs, and we always try via newsletters or via our website to keep you up to date on IP changes.
So well, as you can see, the 3 Helpdesk really work in strong synergies. We are basically the same services, but with a different geographical coverage. So we support EU SMEs willing to go international, or already being in the international market with some IP issues in the 3 regions of China, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, with all the country you can see in the slide. So really the main message also we would like to convey is that well, we are basically a sort of really one service with this specificity in terms of geographical coverage. And as Jim was explaining, we are quite active, or try to be quite active in terms of participation in events. So we offer both on-site and face-to-face trainings, and also we are participating in B2B, trade fairs, or matchmaking events. And the basic idea is that we really don't have standalone events, but we really provide these kind of services in cooperation with different initiatives, chambers of commerce, also trade fair investment agencies, also well with EU-funded project, because our main idea is to really raise the importance of IP. So we really intervene in broader events in which the IP is one of the components, no? So that we really raise the awareness on the importance of taking care of IP and then foster the use of the service mainly.
Yeah, so with all due respect to the previous slides, actually, this is, I think, the main slide. This is really incredibly important. I mentioned it before. Our target is to reach as many SMEs as possible. You all know that SMEs are sort of you hear it all the time, the backbone of our economy. It's true, and we need to reach as many as possible. And for that, there's obviously a large task for us to reach as many SMEs as possible. We rely on multipliers. As Esther mentioned, trade and investment agencies, chambers of commerce, industrial associations. We are all very happy to collaborate with you. Our trainings, webinars are free of charge. And we really do need you guys also to reach out to us, to ask us for support. We will obviously also reach out to you to try and see if there's ways to collaborate. But please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're really happy to support. And yeah, it's all for the SMEs, the ultimate beneficiaries of our services. You can see a number of examples. I think there will be a few more. Yeah. Obviously, like a relatively new project is the Enrich project running in Latin America and China. Enterprise Europe Network is obviously incredibly important, where we frequently collaborate with network representatives in, for example, the Baltic states, in Latvia, Lithuania, in other COSME countries as well. We're now about to organize a training in Iceland, for example. EU Gateway Business Avenues. I see John sitting here in the front row. Long-time collaborator, incredibly successful as well for Southeast Asia and previously also for China, for the Gateway projects. EU SME Center in China, the SME Instrument, obviously. And yeah, obviously, as I mentioned, we'd be very interested to collaborate also with the EIC and to see how intellectual property can really fit the best into these business trainings as well for these SMEs that will be selected under the EIC SME instrument. So once again, also for those watching at home, please do reach out, do not hesitate, and we'd be very happy to support.